Welcome to Don't Repeat What Mommy Says, because Mommy swears.
Mommy swears a lot. Oh my God. So Henry, he's like a little like echo creator and he'll say like whatever. So we get days where like he'll walk by and he'll go, "Oh my gosh," because he hears Aaliyah saying it. And I'm like, "Oh God, quit repeating what Aaliyah says." Well, then she kept like, because we just switched his bedroom. When she was over here, she kept being like, "That's not your room anymore, buddy. You don't have a bed in there." I'm like, "Would you quit? You're just making him sad. Just stop it." So that was a weird little tangent, but don't repeat what mommy says.
what topic are we doing today?
So I think we can kind of mash these topics together into one video, because they go together. So I was thinking wedding vows
Okay.
and you begin as you mean to continue.
Okay.
So
What are we starting with? Wedding vows?
I guess wedding vows.
Okay. So I've been to a lot of weddings recently, and everybody's writing their own vows. And I am not going to lie, this shit is pissing me off for real. Like, I can't even believe that I sat and witnessed this crap. Because if you want to write your own vows, cool. Could they be vows with some substance? Like,
Yes.
I promise that I will always let you watch football uninterrupted. That's not a effing vow, okay? That's just stupid. You know you're not going to do that anyway. But it's almost like people think that it's like entertainment for an audience. And there's like no solemnness to the covenant that you are entering into. And this bothers me.
Well, and so you and I obviously were Christian. So for us, a marriage is more than just the legal paperwork. And I think a lot of what's gotten lost in current society is people making vows of substance because it's a serious thing. Like, you're not entertaining an audience, like you said. You are making promises to each other that you should hopefully, you might not remember your vows word for word. I know I didn't. But you remember the gist of it. And I think writing your own vows is great if that's what you want to do, but I think there's something important about more traditional vows to whatever religion or belief you adhere to.
Even if you're not religious, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. Obviously, for us, it's a vow to our lifelong partner, but it's also a vow before God. So we take that pretty seriously. But you could be an atheist, and you're still going to take those vows seriously. You're promising your life to be intertwined with somebody else's life until one of you dies. That's not something that should be done lightly. It's not for entertainment purposes. Yes, I know everybody wants the fairy tale wedding and everybody thinks about, they spend, it seems to me, that there's a lot of people spending so much time about this one event that they're almost treating like the party of the century and they're not thinking about the marriage afterward.
Well, and like I said, I think there's value in more traditional vows. Just being one, there's usually something good you need to hear from whoever's officiating the wedding in a more traditional, like, wedding script, I guess. Whether that's, obviously we're Christian, but, any religion, any cultural background of how you might write those vows. Um, and just what are you promising? So, like most traditional vows, more of what you're promising is not, oh, we're going to make each other eternally happy and everything's going to be cupcakes and cherries.
Yeah, and I heard that. I will make you happy for the rest of your life. No, you're not going to do that. That can't even be a vow because you're not going to do that.
So, yeah, because of the
Mm-hmm.
vows, I actually, so we went with a more, like, the script for our wedding was based on like a very traditional, like Lutheran style wedding. Um, take from that what you will. But I actually have our wedding script and like the vows and stuff. And these are things that you're going to see in like your traditional vows. It's where'd it go?
I want to talk about, usually it's like, I promise to love. Do you know what love is? Because it's not a feeling, it's an action. And I don't think people know what it means. Like, to love somebody is to put their best interests before whatever your interests are. That's love. We do this with our children. We're supposed to do it with our spouse. So that little thing right there, that's a pretty big vow.
Well, and so part of this, it was, marriage should be a source of comfort, encouragement, and support for each other in prosperity and adversity, in sickness and in health. We are making a commitment, forsaking all others, be faithful to one another. So it's not just everything's going to be hunky dory. It literally tells you right there. There's going to be hard times, and I mean we've been through not anywhere near as hard times as some other people, but we've had times where we were apart for long periods of time. We had, you know, we lived below the poverty line for the first year we were together. So,
We've been very poor. We've been not as poor. We've been okay. We've had natural disasters, which I've talked about on other things. We've had a child who was extremely ill and could have died. We actually got married while I was still in a very heated battle to take my daughter away from my ex-husband, which I will tell you that is a huge stressor in a marriage. We have had me be very ill. My husband has, I mean, we've been through sickness, we've been through, loss of jobs, loss of our home, and through it all, we are still together. And I will tell you this, my husband did not make me happy every single day of that. I did not make him happy every single day of that. That wasn't our vows. Our vows were fidelity to each other and our marriage and our family, and we did that. We took that very seriously. And if we hadn't made those vows, you know, who knows if we would have stayed together, but we vowed to do that, and we take that seriously. And you should think your life is not going to be a fairy tale. It's not.
well, and I think that's the thing that's missing. Whether you write your own vows, you take traditional vows, whatever it is, are you taking that seriously? Are you seriously committing to this person, to this marriage, to this union, both, emotionally, financially, spiritually? Are you committed to making this work, regardless of what that ends up looking like? And not every marriage should work, but I think there are a lot of really vapid reasons why people start considering divorce.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are legitimate reasons to leave somebody.
Absolutely.
And I did leave somebody. So like, and I wrestled with it. It wasn't a decision that I made lightly, and it wasn't a decision I made overnight either. So it was definitely, I don't regret it, because that couldn't be fixed, and it was a dangerous situation, not only for myself, but for my child. So that's not okay. Can't do that. But when you get married and you take divorce off the table, and like I said, there's extenuating circumstances where that, is going to happen. But for the most part, if you take divorce off the table, you have no other, here's your two options if divorce is no longer on the table. You can fix your shit, or you can be miserable for the next 40, 50, 60 years. So most of the time you fix your shit, because the only other option is to be miserable. Because, we're either going to build something together, or we're going to sit here being roommates who hate each other's presence, but we're going to do this for the next 50, 60 years.
Right. So,
So at some point you fix it. And my husband and I not recently, it was several months ago, but it was a big wrinkle in our marriage, and I really didn't like him at all, and I didn't feel like forgiving him. And we talked about it, and he's like, "How can I fix this?" And I'm like, "I don't even know. I don't know if you can fix it, but I'll have to find a way to get past it because I'm not going to divorce you. So at some point, I'm assuming I'll start talking to you again, but I guess until then, we're just going to sit in this shit, you know?" So we did. You know, we sat next to each other, not liking each other for a couple of months, you know. And slowly, you know, I forgave him, and he didn't push me to forgive him. He was just like, "Oh, okay, if I can piss my wife off, I guess I'll make myself available but not be overbearing." And we fixed it because we're not going to get divorced, and living the way we were living would be miserable for the next, we don't have 40 or 50 years left, but it's a good 20, 30, maybe 40, and we didn't want to be that way because divorce wasn't on the table.
Right. So if you are taking marriage seriously, which I think you should, especially if you are then having children with this person. Sorry. um, if you are taking marriage seriously, if you have children with this person especially, you need to be thinking about the fact that it is essentially a lifetime you're talking about spending with this other person. How do you want to live that lifetime? And I think when divorce is not on the table, divorce is not an option for most situations. Um, I think it forces you to actually work on the problems and also to be a team. I mean, really, when you're making marriage vows to somebody, you are vowing to be one unit. You are supposed to work as a team. You won't always see eye to eye, but that's the goal. Is we're gonna fix it together somehow.
And it's a good thing to model to your children because you want your children to be able to make meaningful attachments when they grow up. You want your kids to find their person that they can then build a life with so that when you're dead and gone, they have their family, they have their children, they have their little slice of whatever they create with that other person. You want them to be able to do that. If they don't see that, if they don't see how a marriage is supposed to look, how are they supposed to have a marriage later? It's a lot more difficult when they don't see it. I'm not saying it can't happen, and I'm not saying that if you did end up getting divorced, your kids are screwed and they'll never get married. But it's harder because we do, you know, we are a product of our environment, you know, and you can either perpetuate what you grew up with or you could go against it. But it's like conflict resolution. My kids have seen us argue. My husband and I don't call each other names. We don't act nasty to each other and things like that. So I would hope that my daughters, seeing that kind of arguing or conflict, that they would not accept somebody treating them that way because their mother didn't get treated that way. You know, and I don't have boys, so that's why I focus more on what my daughter saw.
Yeah, I think you are your child's first example of what a relationship is. And we all want our children to grow up and be happy and successful and, live a good life, however that looks for them. And you don't want their first example of what a relationship to be something that's incredibly toxic.
Right. And also children, people in general have specific needs emotionally. A need to belong, a need for safety, love, acceptance. Those four things. I think there might have been one more. I don't know. It's like this is my oh my god, my ear itches and I have headphones on. Um, so it's making me nuts. Sorry. Okay. So kids need that. So when a marriage breaks up, that makes a child feel extremely unsafe. It makes them feel like they have to split their loyalty. There's so much turmoil with a child when this happens. That's another reason why it shouldn't be on the table unless the option to stay married is dangerous for you or your child. So think about that. Make sure that you're marrying somebody of substance. And think about this too, because I think a lot of women will marry a guy that they think they can change into the perfect man.
Mm.
Like they think they can change him. I don't think women do it consciously. It's a subconscious thing. And I did with my first marriage. Uh, very much thought I could change this man. He has all this potential, and he just, like, I'm going to marry him and fix him. You're not. You're not going to marry anybody and fix him. Men go in it with the expectation that their wife is always going to be this, like that they're never going to change. Neither one is true. I mean, you're going to grow and change. Everybody grows and changes. And sometimes in a marriage, you grow apart, and that's okay. You will come back together. But you have to allow your spouse to grow as you would want them to allow you to grow. So you've got to take a step back sometime and let them do their growth. And sometimes that's messy and ugly and it's bullshit, especially if you're dealing with a dude going through a midlife crisis who thinks he needs, a sports car and he's, frosting the tips of his hair or some
Oh
dumb
God.
shit. You know what I mean? Like, dudes do some weird shit, but I think we do too. But I mean, I'm not going to hate on us because we're justified. But,
Well,
and so we might think that's stupid. And you can think that's stupid, but try to be supportive. They'll grow out of their weird midlife crisis or whatever it is.
well, and even more surface level, because I've seen this too. People feeling like they're no longer attracted to their spouse, and then they start getting stupid and they make stupid choices for their marriage. Um, if you are marrying somebody for your looks, you shouldn't be getting married
No.
because looks will change, looks will fade. If you,
By the end of your marriage, you're both going to look like crap.
yeah, right?
It's just what it is. You're both
So,
going to
like,
age, and neither one of you are going to be your former self.
right. So, like, you know, we, my husband and I both look very different than we did when we first got together. We're both, heavier. I got wrinkles. He just got a gray hair. And, like, it doesn't make me feel less attracted to my husband. I wouldn't treat him differently because he's, you know, approaching 30 and he looks like he's approaching 30. Like, that's life. That's what happens. But I didn't marry him because he was, he looked a certain way. Like, yes, attraction is a thing and you should be attracted to your partner, but you should also understand that things change.
Well, and so a lot of women they don't feel attractive after having a baby, and I think that sucks because you just had a baby. Be easy on yourself, and I hope your husband doesn't make you feel bad about the body that you have after you have a baby. If he does, he's a dick, and he probably
He's a
needs.
dick.
He's a dick, and I don't know.
I don't know what to do about that, but he's a dick
I
because
don't know what to do about that either. I think he's got to talk to a man who's a real man to tell him about being a child. But I hear a lot of women saying a lot of really nasty stuff about their husband's looks. And they seem to think it's okay to do that. And I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. Look, my husband doesn't look the same as he did when I married him. My husband was very young when I married him, and he was a farmhand, so he was, you know, pretty buff and all of that. He's 50 now, and I'm 53. Both of us have been fat. Both of us have been skinny. Both of us have been in shape. Both of us have been out of shape. 29 years, we have both changed a lot, and it's not dampened our sex life. Like, our appearance has never been anything to do with our sex life. Uh,
yeah.
no, I mean, my God, I was 250 pounds with an ass as big as a beach ball, and your dad couldn't keep his hands off of me
I know, that's why we had the headphones.
all the
Um,
time. And then I got in shape, and he still couldn't keep his hands off of me. You know what I mean? Like, my
well,
husband doesn't give a shit.
so after I had Henry, I gained a lot of weight when I was pregnant. I was 236 pounds around the time I delivered. And I remember after having Henry saying something about like feeling fat and not feeling particularly attractive. and just whatever. And my husband's response was basically just like any man who wouldn't look at their wife after having a baby and not just be in awe at the woman they married is not a real man. So,
So there's that. But also, we have to remember that men go through changes too, and they might get fat too.
well, and I would hope that I am affording my husband the same grace.
You just need to. Like men get older, their hormones change, their metabolism changes, and their men don't tend to give as much of a crap as women do. Like we'll be like, oh no, I gotta do something about this. It's a lot longer for men to be like, oh no, I gotta do something. Because man,
Right?
we are not going to be equal to men until we can have a pop belly, be half bald, with a shirt that doesn't fit because we've gotten fatter and go, yeah, I still got it, okay?
Still
This is
hot.
who we are. And I am not going to disillusion my husband. It's like, yeah, baby, you still got it. You got it all over the place. Look at you. You know?
Oh,
But I
I
feel
swear I
like
haven't been drinking.
when you can be that person, because I hear a lot, like, I feel like I'm invisible to my husband. I feel like he doesn't spend time with me. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. I hear that a lot from women. And then other women jump on, yeah, those motherfuckers, and all of that. But are you that wife, though, who, when your husband's like, yeah, I still got it. And he doesn't. Are you that wife that's like, yeah, baby, you are the sexiest thing I've ever seen in my life? Are you that wife? Or are you the one that's like, yeah, baby, you got a pot belly now. Maybe you want to lay off the Twinkies. Which wife are you?
Well, and I know you mentioned you've been fat, you've been skinny, you've been in shape, you've been out of shape, hasn't affected the bedroom. You know what will affect the bedroom? Telling your husband he's a fat, disgusting lard.
Yes.
And if he said the same thing to you, you would be so pissed. So don't do it to him. It's not
Don't
fair.
do
It's not
it.
nice.
It's not nice. And yes, I
And
know
you
you
didn't marry
want
him
as
for his
well.
ass.
I
I
mean,
would
I
hope.
kind of married Dad for his ass. He had a really great ass. I mean, he really did, and he still has a pretty good ass. And I like it. But I mean, I didn't just marry the ass,
Right. Like
and
there
I
are.
can, and
Whoa. Maybe we shouldn't have done two in a day. We're falling apart.
But I mean, my husband, like, he loves me no matter what. I mean, he really does. Like, I can be extremely crazy and just completely irrational, especially like when I went through menopause, but after I had children, whatever. Like, just ridiculousness. Like, I got pissed at the man about the way he cut sausage. I know we talked about that on the show. Like,
Sausage. It was like an incident.
it was like, yeah, I mean, just
I
completely
blame the
childish
house.
baby. But he will still just be like, baby, you're like the best thing that's ever happened to me, blah blah blah. So I need to give him that same grace because you know what, my husband's not perfect either, and there are days when he acts childish too. And I hear all of the complaints from the women, and then the women jump on the bandwagon, yeah, blah, men. But are you perfect? Because you're probably not.
Right?
So none of us are perfect, and you married a person. It's two imperfect people just trying to get through this thing called life together, okay? So laugh about it later, try to be supportive. If your husband's not being supportive of you, walk away and let him think about it. Let him stew in his shit for a while. That's my advice to that.
So, in a little transition there, you begin as you mean to continue.
For sure.
So, we had that listed as like
Where'd
a
you
whole
hear
show
that?
topic. I heard it from you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't, let me put it this way. If you don't want to be the wife who's constantly picking up your husband's dirty laundry off the floor, don't do it in the first place.
Mm-mm. Don't
If
do
it's
it.
on the floor, it's not in the basket, guess what? It doesn't get washed. And this doesn't just apply to marriage, it applies everywhere. So I got this job right out of high school or end of high school for a plumbing company because my opera singer's husband owned it, and he goes, I'm too much of a pushover. I need someone who can be kind of a bitch. Will you come work for me? And I was like, oh, I'm so flattered. You think I'm a bitch. Um, but he had this issue with the guys not putting their hours in. And every week you'd be chasing him down on Monday to get the payroll run. So I finally told him, I'm like, if your hours aren't in, you don't get paid. And they didn't believe me. So first week I ran payroll, like 6 people didn't get paid. And they were pissed. But that's what it means. It's don't say you're not going to do something and then do it anyway, because that just teaches them that you're just going to keep doing it. And then you will. So,
And it builds resentment.
yes.
And resentment is impossible to avoid in a marriage, but you can avoid some of that by not doing things that you don't mean to be doing for the rest of your life. If you do not want for the rest of your marriage to be making your husband's lunch, don't make it. If you don't want to wake your husband up for work for the rest of your marriage, don't do it
Don't
on
do
day one.
it.
My husband and I, when we moved in together, the second day, the next morning, he didn't wake up for work, and so before he was with me, he had his uncle as a roommate, and I was up, but I didn't have to work, and I didn't wake him up because it's not my job, because I'm not his mom. So he gets up and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm late for work." I'm like, "Yeah, you are." And he was
Sucks for
like,
you.
"Why didn't you wake me up?" I'm like, "Why would I wake you up? You're a grown man. I figured maybe you didn't have to go into work till late today." Well, my uncle woke me up. I'm like, "Do I look like Uncle Jim? I assure you, if I did, you wouldn't be with me." He's like, "Well, I'll end up losing my job." I'm like, "Well, then you won't have me because you won't be working, and that's a deal breaker for me because you got to pay the bills, sweetie." So I've never had to wake him up since. He gets up every day since then. So
Well, and that's not to say that you can't do those things
ever.
on occasion or you can't ever do them. So, like, I will not wake my husband up for work. He never expected me to. But if I happen to wake up and I know he's got to get to work and he overslept his alarm, like, I'll go in and slap him on the arm and be like, dude, get up.
Yeah, but don't
But
do it on
that's,
day one.
don't do it on, but I didn't do it on day one. And I've never have. It's, I think, like 3 times in the entirety of our marriage, I have woken him up for work because he
Yeah.
overslept an alarm
And
or
I mean, and
something.
since that, after 29 years of marriage, there has been a couple times where I've been like, "Oh, baby, I think you overslept your alarm." But
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it the first day we moved in together because then he would have expected me to do that forever. And guess who's not doing that forever? I'm not doing that forever because I'm intrinsically not a codependent person. I'm
Yeah.
just not. Like, I'm responsible for me, you're responsible for you.
Well, and like, I do make my husband's lunches. I don't mind doing it.
You
And if
like
there's,
doing it.
right, but there have been days where I haven't done it. And it's like he doesn't get upset about it, but it's something I've always done. So now it's the expectation is there. And the one day I was pissed at him and I was making his lunch and like I don't write like notes in his lunch or anything, but I was pissed at him and I'm still making it. And he's like, "Well, thanks." I'm like, "I hope you know it wasn't made with love." So,
Here's the thing, when you do something for your spouse, you should be able to do it with a glad heart. If you're doing it out of because you think you have to and it's not being appreciated and all that, you're not doing it for the right reason. If you're doing it because you want recognition, you're not doing it for the right reason. So don't.
right.
Same goes with your children, though, as well. Don't if you don't want to pick up after your children for the rest of their lives or their childhood, then require your children to pick up after themselves.
Yeah, and I think people kind of overlook it sometimes, but kids take a lot of pride in being able to do things by themselves and things that they feel like are a contribution to the household, especially young kids.
Hmm.
So, if there is a task they can do and you would like to get to a point where maybe they can do that task independently and it makes your life a little easier, um, involve them in it, show them what to do, show them how to help, and then praise them for doing a good job.
And at first, when you first, it will be more of a hassle than just doing it yourself. But I
Yes.
promise you that there will come a day when you will be glad that you did it because it will be taking the load off of you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the girls did the dishes most of the time. It's not that I never did dishes, but they did the dishes most nights. Um, I don't think I had you guys clean the bathrooms much, did I?
Not till we were older.
Yeah, I think dusting, dishes. I think for the most part I did the floors and stuff. And we all kind of worked together. Like in the teen years, I had like once a week where I like cleaned the house, and we all kind of picked a chore kind of thing, and then we'd get it done really fast because it was me and the two girls, and they were teenagers at the time, so we could get that thing like clean, like clean in like an hour and a half. Everybody just
Right.
kind of picked something.
And like my kids too, so, right now sometimes his helping is more work than it is helpful, but he's learning. So when he got to the point where he could walk, he wanted to help put away dishes. And he can't reach most of the stuff, but he'll take things out of the dishwasher and he hands them to me.
Mhm.
I'm not going to discourage that behavior because it's inconvenient and it takes me longer, because someday I want him to do it himself.
Well, that's that you begin as you mean to continue. You're beginning with teaching him how to do these things. So he's going to continue to want to do these things or to do them. There's going to come a point where he's not going to want to do them, but he's going to do them.
He's going to do them.
Right.
And you know, you begin as you mean to continue, and you just have to be really consistent. I think in all aspects of life, really consistency helps.
Absolutely. And just don't do things for anybody, not your spouse, not your kids, not your friends, not whatever. Don't do things that you don't want to be doing
Yeah.
just because you feel like you have to do it. Like, trust me, if for some reason you are incapacitated tomorrow, the world will not fall apart.
Yeah, they will go on. They will figure out how to get the shit
So
done.
they will figure it out. And sometimes people don't figure it out until they have to figure it out. And is it going to be the way you did it? No, it's not. Is it going to be to your standards? No, probably not. And that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But just don't do, and I've said this, and I hate to say this because I think if Dad watches this or whatever, I hope he doesn't, but when you do too much for a man, they get lazy. They really do. Like if you do
Yeah.
too much for a man, they will get lazy. They get real complacent, and then they almost look at you like a mother. And guess who doesn't want to sleep with their mother? Quit
And
mothering your husbands. You don't need to do that.
and I know we keep talking about that, like the sex life aspect, but even if you're not feeling it right now, like you want to be that intimate with your spouse, you will someday. So don't kill the intimacy in your marriage.
And that's another thing I want to talk about is intimacy, though, because like there's a lot of women who just will not put out. I do not understand this. Did you get married to be a monk or a nun? Because I assure you, your husband didn't. It's like one of the very few perks.
Yeah, and I mean, you want him to go do this project for you? A little incentive goes a long way sometimes. So I think we are going to do a whole episode on sex and marriage and sex drive disparities that happen in marriages. But, you know, once in a while, throw him a bone.
Let him throw you a bone.
All right. On that note, take your vows seriously. Don't start doing shit if you don't want to be doing it forever.
Put out once in a while.
Put out once in a while. Boom.
Womp.
Womp.
Womp womp.